Well, good afternoon, and it's a Sunday, and I thought, why not do the traditional Sunday thing, which is have a little chat with Spirit, because after all, whatever religion you belong to, that's the basis of it, and more so, perhaps, shall we say, for us spiritualists of all denominations and kinds. So I thought that I would talk to you about how we speak to Spirit, how we hear it and understand it really. And following that sort of Sunday type sermon theme, I wrote a few words, and just like many of my colleagues in their various churches and temples and so on, I thought I'd write down my thoughts. And I was wondering, how we receive that communication from the spirit world. Well, I was going to say that the most obvious way in which we receive communication from that other dimension of existence, the world of spirit, as opposed to this world of more solid matter, is the actual manifestation of the physical world in which we find ourselves. Everything that exists around us is engendered by the Great Spirit and literally informs us about who and what we are from the moment we're born. And that, as we are born from the same source, by rights, communication between us and our environment and spirit should be second nature. And yet the physical experience crowds that natural spiritual cognition out of our consciousness as we grow in years. That spirit and spiritual aspect is then given a set of rules by well-meaning people who are adhering to various religious groups' prescriptions that were motivated by spirit in the first place at various times in the Earth's recorded history, with teachings that were received by a few of the Earth's population who have been gifted to have actually heard from lofty beings residing in that other only of spirit dimension. These chosen founding teachers would have been people able to exalt their mental faculties above the mundane, literally reverting to the state of wonder with which they were born, and therefore could easily receive the communications being emitted. But these religions, until 1848 of the Common Era, or 5608 of the Hebrew calendar, were at least officially set against individuals communicating with spirit for themselves. But what that means in reality is that if they were prohibiting such a practice, the faculty must have existed. And then in the spring of 1848, or 5608, communication between the two worlds was demonstrated to be possible by spirit operators impinging on the physical world, creating anomalous noises, loud knockings or raps, evincing a response from some clever young girls, mediumistic of course, who devised a code by which a conversation ensued with a dead travelling salesman. And when neighbours came to watch and listen, news spread quickly. Others decided to try and emulate the experience successfully, and so not with the same person, of course. And so came into being the egalitarian modern spiritualism and its essential exponents from all walks of life, the practitioners of mediumship. And that's something we're going to go into further later on, aren't we? Well, not that much later. A methodology quickly evolved, suggested by the communicating spirits, by which individuals could and still can tread a pathway by altering and elevating their mental faculties that leads to communication being received from individuals in the world of spirit. This is open to any one person, and it is independent of culture, creed, colour, gender, or sexual orientation. If you want to develop your own abilities, there are many opportunities to study online or in spiritualist churches and meeting places. There are video tutorials and CDs too. Countless books and tracts have been produced over the years, including, here I mention my own, the Spiritualist Handbook, that contains some development workshops to do at home or in a group. And there is a CD of meditations on Spotify or Amazon called Iconoclast. Also, I produced that, along with Reverend Nick Brown, who helped, and Reverend Kathy Gibb-de. And there are also some videos on the YouTube channel, which is unsurprisingly called Lyn Gibb-de. So that's what I decided that I should talk about, if you like. And the fact is that, you know, now we have our churches reopening and our centres reopening, thank God. We still, I believe, have a need to use this social media, this online facility, in order to take our message out, literally, and to keep in contact with each other wherever we may live, because I think that's very, very important. And I do hope that all the churches and centres, including our own, of course, which is doing that, which is the Liverpool Christian Spiritualist, will all continue to put their services online. So I just wondered if you had any questions that you would like. I don't know how many people would like to. Good afternoon, Margaret. How many people would like? Oh, good afternoon, Karen. Okay. You know, I'm not sure if anybody actually tuned in at 3 o'clock to listen to the talk part, apart from a few stalwarts. Just in the same way that people used to come late to church services and meetings, because, you know, there's always mediumship at every spiritualist church service, unless, of course, it's a funeral or a wedding or a christening or naming. You know, the thing is that if they came a bit later, they knew that they would skip the sermon, aka address, and a couple of hymns, and get straight to the messages, which of course is what spiritualism is founded upon, as we've said. But the fact is that communication is broader than that, really, and we have to sort of broaden our horizon and open our minds, really, to real communication that we get 24/7. And what I wondered was, yes, I have got to the question bit. And I will show Karen take the naughty seat for 5 minutes then. Only joking, of course. But Karen, you must have heard what I said about people skipping the first few minutes or first half hour, usually, of a service in order to get to the messages. Well, of course. Oh, and Kathy. Oh, and Kathy, who I mentioned, my partner, of course, is delivering magazines around to the community, the magazine that we do, voluntarily, of course. Yes. And I'll continue, because I did say that I would answer questions, and I will. So, right, let's go to Margaret's. Right. Yes, there is. There are many organisations that offer certification for mediumship. And sometimes one wonders, doesn't one, what that actually comprises. Mediumship itself is a very precise skill. Now, when you see some mediums presenting their communication skills, you might wonder, exactly what level they're at in terms of skill, ability. But the thing is that really the criteria is that you can actually communicate with the world of spirit, not necessarily on all levels, but shall we say for the purposes of certificating mediumship, which usually means the kind of mediumship that delivers messages from loved ones in spirit to those left behind down here adequately. We could say that there are criteria that have to be met. First of all, they have to have the ability to identify the communicating individual from spirit. They need to be able to talk about their gender, perhaps their appearance, and offer some indication of their relationship to the person to whom they are trying to relay a message, and also to be able to adequately describe the way in which they passed, because very often the last physical remembrance that people have before they go over to the next world is that of their passing condition, so that the medium should be able to describe that condition. And as I always say, mediums die, as many times as they give a message, because of course they have to experience that within themselves in order to convey that to the recipient. And also they need to be able to give some relevant memories to the recipient from that individual in spirit who has been successfully identified, and also be able to pass on some very specific evidence of themselves as individuals and of those memories. And and also to finish, they should be able to pass on a message of comfort, advice, what they will, from those in spirit to their loved ones left down here. Now, if they can accomplish all those things and do it in a good way, meaning their presentation is suitable, that there aren't too many lengthy gaps between the evidence that's provided of those dear ones' survival in spirit, they should be accorded a certificate, because if somebody's work merits certification, qualification, then they should receive that. And of course, the spiritualist organisations who offer certificates to their mediums are very aware of all those ramifications. And really and truly, although we often say, for instance, Jesus never got a certificate from anybody, and neither did St. Paul or anybody else come to that. And Moses certainly didn't have a certificate. At the same time, they were the world's, without doubt, greatest mediums, meaning communicators with spirit. And although people perhaps don't actually need a certificate, the point of view of people going to visit to receive communications from mediums, it's a good idea to ask if they are actually certificated, I think, and by which organisation. So I hope that that's helpful. Now, sadly, well, this is the point. But the only thing is this, that, one of the principles of spiritualism is eternal progress open to every human soul. That's actually the sort of rubber stamp principle. And that eternal progress doesn't just start when you've snuffed it, when you've moved on over to that world of spirit. It starts from the moment you're born, or before then, really, at conception. but we're talking about coming into this life as we know it. And you know, we are all able to progress, aren't we? Because otherwise we'd still be scrabbling about. Now, Karen, now then. I never thought of them. So Karen says, although she'd never thought of asking for proof certificate. Well, it depends really what you're wanting, because obviously if you're going to go for a private reading, as we call it, a consultation with a medium in their own home, for instance, because if they're working within a church or a spiritualist meeting place, that church or meeting place will have already ensured that the medium that you're going to have a sitting with is of a suitable standard. I would say that. I mean, I was a resident medium at Lewisham Spiritualist Church where I started out my progress. And all of the mediums there were all, you know, had all come through circle and developments, and indeed we were all given certificates eventually. I've never known any church wait so long and ask for so much dedication before you got a certificate. But it was all to the good. And, you know, generally speaking, if you go to one of those spiritualist churches or centres, the mediums there will be bona fide. If you are going to one of these, you know, psychic shops, something like that, then of course you're going to take potluck, unless you can ask if there is anybody there, if there's anybody there. That wasn't really a joke, but it is, I suppose. Ask them if they have a certificated medium there working with them. And if not, you can make your choice. You make your decision. That's the point. The public make informed decisions. You know, they decide themselves whether they are going to choose a medium that works within the spiritualist movement within a church or a spiritualist centre, or if they're going to go to the cave of whoever's, the cave of Aladdin down the road that sells all the usual, you know, ephemera attached to psychic and spiritual stuff that also offer readings at the same time. And people can make a decision about where they're going to go for that. So that's what I honestly believe. And I'm waiting for some more questions. So I would have thought that people had quite a few questions about such things. I can sort of fill in with Karen. Well, you know, I can't say that I don't set myself up as the arbiter of you know, of assessing mediumship, but of course after many years steeped in it, so to speak, the practice and demonstration of mediumship, both of my own and many others, one can't help actually assessing mediums that are presented for you. And I do agree with the fact that not all are up to that particular standard. However, the fact is this, that, you know, as long as the person is giving you sufficient proof for you that your loved one is around and is getting through and is able to say something to you, then, you know, perhaps we should be grateful for that, because it's such an amazing thing, isn't it? Mediumship is such a wonderful thing. Just think, you know, people that are sort of millions of light years away from us in actual fact, if you want to talk in scientific terms, you know, they've moved into another dimension. It's like, warp speed 1,000 or something. They're so far away and yet also so near, because as we understand it, scientifically speaking, this whole universe, all the universes, are a matrix of light frequency. And we are all on this kind of grid, and it sustains everything. And we do believe, I believe, and all those who are of like mind believe, that this was created by the Almighty, and that everything is interlinked, and that just like if you suffer a little cut on your finger, for instance, or a pain somewhere in your body, so the Almighty Creator feels and sees everything about itself, because it embraces all. That's a bit existential, isn't it? Metaphysical, but it is the truth. And I think that Lyn, how you do this? That's another. There we are. I bet you're all glad that I got stopped there in my flow. This is what people used to do when they used to sit in circle with me, when I'd go on and on, as one Shirley Monaco used to say. That some bright student would always put a hand up and say, "Oh, excuse me, but so and so, so and so," and then I would stop and I would answer them. Can I ask, how did you know you could contact people from the spirit world? Are people always in my head? People always in my head. Well, how did I know? Like most people, generally, I had sort of what used to be called imaginary friends when I was a child. But I used to have children come and visit me. Oh, the screen keeps freezing. Is it mine or yours? I don't think mine's freezing, Karen. Oh dear, never mind. Hopefully it'll sort itself out. Now, as I was saying, I used to see children used to come to see me when I was a child in bed, and I used to go off for adventures with them. And I thought they were time travelers. Well, of course they were, but they were coming from that world of spirit, an eternal time, to mine, and then they would take me on visits to various places and times that they seemed to be more at home in. And I remember very, very well actually seeing the young person playing on a lute and singing Greensleeves. And it was sort of around about the Elizabethan era. And I've never forgotten that. So there you are. You see, I used to see all these things. Well, then as I grew older and stuff like skating took over, and all the physical pursuits that are of this world, not forgetting having to do homework and stuff like that. So all that receded. Anyway, eventually, I'll spare you all the details. Yes, I was always, very aware of the spiritual element in life, but it was only after my father passed away when I was absolutely devastated, when a friend who was also a skating colleague insisted that I should come to her spiritualist church with her because it would make me feel better. Anyway, I did. Cut a long story short, went there, saw a wonderful medium called Ivy Scott, and she gave me a message. And there was no way on earth that anybody would have known what my father said to me at all. And I was so fascinated and shocked and all those things. I decided that I would find out for myself how this was done. And I rang up, I looked in the phone book, that's how long ago it was, found the SAGB, and I thought anything with spiritualist in it. And I rang them, and they must have thought that, I said, look, I just want to find out how all this is done. I've received a message, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they suggested that I went to Lewisham Spiritualist Church, and that's where I ended up. I told Kathy what I was doing. I think she thought I'd completely lost it, and went off to this Lewisham Spiritualist Church, and I got another message, and I thought, this is ridiculous. So afterwards, I was invited for a cup of tea, usual thing in a spiritualist church. You have a cup of tea and a cake or biscuit afterwards. And I thought, I'd look for somebody to ask. And I saw this bloke with a fag in, sort of hidden. And I thought, he'd probably be in the army. He looks normal. And I asked him where I could find out about any of this. And he said, well, you'll come to Circle tomorrow night. And I said, Circle? And he said, yeah, like a group, you can find out. Oh, all right. And that's what I did. And that first night, I wasn't too sure at all, but I was invited by the medium who was leading the circle to participate in the meditation. And of course, in spiritualism, our meditations are guided by spirit, and we're taken to places, and our spirit is taken to places while we're sitting there quietly and comfortably. And I met my dad. And then after that, I met the lady who was going to be my guide. And it was wonderful. And that was that, really. And I decided I would study and study and study how all this works, and learned and learned and learned. And that was how. And then you asked, are people always in my head? No. What you also learn to do when you're developing properly as a medium is to have discipline. Discipline is of the essence. You have to know when to be open to spirit contact and communication, and when to not be open to that, so that you live your life as you're supposed to, but you can open up to spirit when it's desired. Because really and truly, unfortunately, if people are just open all the time, it's not good. That's not a good way to be. And I do believe in discipline, having rules which are laid down by spirit, because they teach us how to protect ourselves, how to turn on and turn off, close down and open up. So they're the first things that we learn in a proper spiritualist circle, or from a proper teacher. So there we are. And so fortunately, no, people are not in my head. In fact, I suppose you could say that nobody ever is in your head, because your own body and your own physical space is your own, and it doesn't belong to anybody else. And you can be impressed by outside influences and spirit, but they do not enter your own space there. So that's that. Good afternoon to you too. I should keep an eye on the time, shouldn't I, as well? No idea what the time is. Or how long this is going on for, but I should carry on regardless. We should find some kind of clock. I have a clock. I have a clock. Hold on a moment, everybody, boys and girls. It is, we're just after half an hour, so that's good. Now, Karen, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Went to a circle once that didn't believe in protection being required. I think that's a little bit worrying. Thank you, Lyn. Thank you. Yes. Right, protection. Of course, we need protection. It's not good enough to say that, you don't need protection because, I've even heard it said that there's no such thing as bad spirit or evil spirit. I mean, how can anybody looking at even the human condition and the condition that a lot of the people in this planet are living under and say that there is no evil spirit or no bad spirit abroad? Because really, whatever do they think motivates people to be literally so wicked in their actions and the things that go on in this world? I know it sells newspapers, bad news, and to actually go into a situation where you are opening up to spirit influence and to say that you don't need protection, meaning you don't need protection from anything bad, is arrogant, really. How can how can you say that when you look around and see so many awful things? I mean, I would suggest that people who are sensitive, which was the other word for medium, by the way, people who are sensitive, yourself, if you go into perhaps a crowded supermarket or a crowded shopping area or something like that, or any crowded assembly, there are some things that make you feel uncomfortable. And those things are bad emanations. And so you have to be able to protect yourself from that, for instance. And I always teach people, imagine, if you like, that you're in a suit of armor, if that appeals to you, or a sort of a bag that you can sort of jump into and tie up at the top. And sort of like it seals you in, but you can breathe and everything in it. So it closes you off. So imagine yourself closed off from all those other things around you, good and bad, of course, but bad mostly. It deters. So I would say that that they really need to think again about that. And I would suggest to you, my friends, that if you go anywhere that tells you do not need protecting from anything, when you're going to go into a development circle, don't stay. Or explain to them that, even if they say a prayer before they start their circle, they are actually asking for protection, if you see what I'm saying. So even if there's a short prayer, it doesn't have to be a big rigmarole. They don't have to sprinkle holy water around or go into one. A heartfelt, sincere prayer will give you all the protection that you need, in fact, because all those ministers of grace who defend us will gather round. We're like a little light. I told you about the light frequencies that this whole cosmos, the whole universes are based on, are made up of. And we ourselves are these little sparks of light. And when we do spiritual work, like we're doing today, for instance, our little light gets brighter and others can see it in the spirit world. And if you are praying, that's what happens. That light glows brighter and attracts the good to you and frightens off the bad. It's not coincidence that primitive human beings learned how to make fire to keep away the savage animals that were going to prey upon them. It's a physical manifestation of the spiritual fact that the light repels the dark. So there we are. And you're saying, I must put that up. There we are. Yes, one wonders what people mean by spiritual sometimes too. I'm not sure what they said, Karen, in amongst everything that I've been warbling on about. What did they say too, if you can tell us? Well, you see, the thing is this: I don't know how spirit do it, but they always work through us, and if we allow them to, we get prompted, and we've come now to the part where we are going to. I wanted to give some messages actually, and oh right, here we go. Well, I would suggest that we tell that to the people who are suffering now at the hands of bad people, or oppressive regimes. Where do they think they get their influences from? Hatred and spite and all those nasty things come from somewhere. They don't just manifest on their own. They don't spring into existence out of nowhere. And I believe that influence from spirit is a responsible factor, and you cannot say that evil spirits or bad spirits don't exist when you know that bad people and evil people exist, unfortunately, in abundance, and the good has to triumph. So what we'll do then, we'll do our own giving of light out and receiving, and before we give out any messages, what mediums have to do is prepare themselves mentally and spiritually, and like I said, the easiest way to do that is through prayer. So we can all say a prayer together, and then I will perhaps be able to give out a couple of messages. So let's pray together. Let's pray together. Creator God, as we gather in your name, we are in awe of all the works of your hands. As we view the world around us and through discovery learn more about it, we are all the more overwhelmed at your greatness. And the more we discover of the discernible, the more we anticipate our need of the eternal and the spiritual. Dear Lord, be with us here. And as it says in Proverbs 22:9, a generous man, well, we'll say a generous person, will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. And gracious, gracious Great Spirit, give us such a vision of your glory that no sacrifice will seem too great. Strengthen us in our walk of faith and life, that we may move from selfishness to generosity of spirit. And also, please, dear Lord, for all those suffering illness at this time, please give them healing and respite and comfort. And we ask, remember too, Lord, our animals that we have charge over, and especially at this time, those who we know are bred only for torture and death by spurious science, and particularly those held captive by breeding facilities to be sent to laboratories for painful experiments and death. And we ask you, dear Lord, to look after those animals. In the name of love and truth and light. Amen. There. So now we've been sending out our signals, and I will have a look and see if anybody here would like a message. I must tell you this, that while I was preparing this little chat today, I saw in spirit, came in very large as life, literally, a beautiful Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and also with him, because I felt it was a male, looked like a spaniel, a softer, I wasn't sure, a collie spaniel, that kind of doggy with him. And I felt sure that somebody would recognise them. So I'll give that out into the ether, unless anybody who is actually watching at the moment can take those animals and their love that they come with. I just put that out there. Oh, and I got the name of Peter as well, so I just mentioned that. Now, would one of you like a message? I'll just see who's there, shall I? Is anybody there? Well, I got somebody's mother here. I keep staring into this machine thing. I'm not looking at, and I can't see anybody, but there's a lady in spirit. She's somebody's mother who is looking in, and she's a lovely, warm person. She has a lovely, warm personality, but she's saying that she did have problems with regulating her temperature, and particularly towards the end. So she did have problems with her body temperature. So she was quite feverish, and she felt very dry before she passed over. If anybody is listening now, I also get that she was quite concerned about how she looked, and she said she didn't want to be seen dead in a mess. She was very careful of her appearance, and she was not vain at all, but she just liked to look nice and to be neat at least. And she said that, she was worried because her hair was a bit messy and things like that, and she was concerned at how she appeared, because she was such a, she was so careful of her appearance ordinarily, and it was just her illness that. So is there anybody out there that can take this lovely lady, please? No? Okay. Well, we should carry on, because I know that there'll be somebody out there who can. And, the fact is this, that people do communicate with us when they know that somebody is going to receive their message. And it's not for us, individual mediums, to make decisions about, when and how and who. And particularly in situations like this, where it's almost random, if you like. But I just decided that I would give some messages just to sort of demonstrate really that that this can happen, and that we can get solid evidence that people do survive that physical transition called death, and even if they passed in tragic circumstances. I suppose in a way, and this lady has a very good sense of humour, I must say. She said she didn't always have a good sense of humour while she was here, but listening to what I was saying made her smile and giggle a little. And she's yes, thank you. She used to like to wear nice clothes when she could, but I think that she worked very hard, and yes, she's rolling her sleeves up, so she must have been a very busy lady in her time. And don't forget, she's mother to somebody who is looking in at this little broadcast. And yes, thank you. I get the name of Mary being given as well. And who's that? And there was a Graham somewhere around as well. I also get some nice visions in my head of some garden work being done. So there's some gardening being done here. I think that there's been a bit of criticism about the condition of the garden, and that this is sort of like pushing somebody to do a bit more. And she would have loved the garden, so I can tell you that, and greenery particularly. And I suppose favourite colours were those of nature, you know, green and blue, and I would say that that she wants to send her love to all her family, and I believe that she'll be gone a little while. So hi Bernadette. Well, I've passed on this little message, this communication from this lady, because she's asked me to. Don't forget about those animals either. What I would suggest is that if when you look in on this, as you're not looking in on it as this sort of live broadcast goes, that if you are the recipient of this message, that you can put a little comment, because that would be nice for everybody to know. So I'm not going to just... Oh, hi, Joanne. Now, dear Joanne, a friend and a medium. So, Joanne, I just gave a message out to to somebody I don't know, from somebody I don't know, and I'm hoping that at some point, you know, somebody who is watching this after we've finished our live broadcast will actually be able to accept the message, that communication from them, for them. So I wasn't going to continue any more messages, because it's much better if we get some sort of immediate response, isn't it, Joanne? But yes, certainly I hope that you've all found this little chat interesting, that you felt a bit uplifted by the prayer, and that the questions that I've answered have been helpful. If nobody else wants to ask any more questions, I'll probably finish for the afternoon. And it was just so nice to see everybody and have a little chat with you. And like I said, you know, Sunday is a kind of special day, and that's why I decided to have a talk. Kind of you. You know, I just wanted to, you know, sometimes us mediums say it's easier to talk to the dead than the living. And I'm sure a lot of you have felt like that. I just felt that it would be nice to make communication. Oh, Joanne. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you. It's just really nice to get that, you know, that backup, if you like, and especially from another medium. So yes, what I ought to tell you is that there are videos on YouTube, as I mentioned. If you're interested in more information about spiritualism generally, if you want to try some development, some meditations. Meditations are not the same as transcendental meditations. The meditations are guided meditations from spirit to enable you to progress your own spirit self, your own spiritual abilities as well. And there is that book I mentioned called The Spiritualist Handbook that you can get on Amazon. And that's got loads and loads and loads of stuff in it. There's information about spiritualism itself, workshops. There are even services, you know, ministers' services so that you can know what to expect if you go in, if you go to a funeral conducted by a spiritualist minister, or a wedding, naming, or anything like that. What we used to call hatch, match, and dispatch. And also there are these meditations on Lyn Gibb-de, which is my YouTube channel, and development videos and things. And also there's that CD Iconoclast, which has meditations on it, and a benediction, of course, and some questions and answers in trance. Oh, well, the thing is this, that we're just talking with friends, aren't we? So this is just a tool for communication that I think we should use. And, like Kathy, my partner, always says to me, nobody's looking at you, Lyn, they're listening to what you have to say. Because when I worry, I say, they don't want to see this old lady sort of yammering on. And she says, no, they want to hear what you have to say. So, I hope that I hope that you've been interested in what I've had to say. And it's just so nice to be able to speak with you. And I hope to be able to speak with you again. And so that somebody's going to have that nice message. And I would love them, whoever you are, to make a comment whenever it is. So, yes. So I hope that you have a very good rest of the day or night, depending, of course, on when you're watching this after we've finished our live broadcast. And it's so nice to be among friends, friends when, Joanne, I didn't have to come round and knock on your door. You didn't have to come round here. You need to be braver. Look. We all need to be braver. I'm not brave. I just wanted to chat to friends. And if you see it like that, and you know that, spirit is with you, your friends and helpers in the world of spirit, and the Lord himself is with you always. He never told lies, and, is with us all the time. And we don't have to worry about anything. His eye is on the sparrow, and he sure is watching over us as well. So, it's not really about bravery. It's about having that trust that everything will be all right. And people would love to hear from you, Joanne. I'm sure they're enjoying seeing this little chat between us now, and they're curious now. What's this? Sorry. Can you put a link up your YouTube page, please? I would be interested in. Oh, that's nice, Bernadette. I think I can put a comment on there, can't I? Oh, this is exciting. It's not a link as such. Just put YouTube is Lyn. Yeah, it's writing. Gibb-de. It became that after I got married, you see, on YouTube, and you'll get all sorts of stuff on that. Also, I'll give you a website. Lyn, I shall carry on talking. No. Hang on a minute, and I'll just give you my website. And that's nice. Hang on, www.lynguestdeswart.com. That's the one. Dear oh dear, you can't get the staff, can you? Now then, there we are. Guess yes. So you can now. Now this one. No. If you, what I said in my sermon, my address, which fortunately I've been told to write down. You see, Spirit said to me, write it down. I don't, I like to think that I could be inspired by Spirit, which, you know, and just talk off the cuff, as it were, about anything in particular. But they told me to write it down. And because I wrote it down, I'm able to tell you that what I said was that Spirit and spiritual aspect is then given a set of rules by blah, 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 with teachings that were received by a few of the Earth's population who've been gifted to have actually heard from lofty beings residing in that other only of spirit dimension. And these chosen founding teachers would have been able to exalt their mental faculties above the mundane, etc., etc., etc. Now, so basically, the short answer is that Jesus was not the first to have that communication with God. The first that we know of course, was Moshe, who it's written down. You know, it's the stuff that's recorded. Of course, things were going on that weren't recorded. You know, it wasn't so easy. You know, can you imagine it 5,000 years ago, looking around for a piece of paper and a pen? No. So, you know, these things had to be orally transmitted, talked, spoken about, and then somebody had to get hold of a piece of stone and start chiseling at it, or a lump of papyrus and start, you know, doing stuff. But Moses is written about as being spoken to by the Lord. And he's also recorded manifestations like the burning bush and a voice speaking out of that burning bush to him. His staff that he was able to strike a rock and water gushed out of it. All sorts of things. So I think that Moses was a very, very great medium indeed. And of course, with mediumship always comes healing. I always say that's the highest form of mediumship, to be able to channel, to be a conduit for healing energies and healing rays from those ministering angels in the realms of spirit. So, yes, so, you know, that all of those. I mean, Mohammed heard from the angel Gabriel. You know, that they all the founders of the world's great religions were spoken with by the Great Spirit. And the thing is about mediums that we know, from the humblest to the most exalted, is that their own minds sometimes trip them up and interfere a little bit with the communication they receive. So we have to always make allowances for that. We also have to make allowances for those who are writing it down, maybe hundreds of years afterwards, or many years afterwards at least. I mean, you know yourself, if you get a message at church, say, for instance, we're going back to the spiritualist church and messages, you write down a message that you get from spirit, from church, a week afterwards. See if you can remember everything. You know, that's the point. So, where did I go? I became a minister in 2003. I was ordained the week after, I think it was 2 weeks after I left my position as editor of Psychic News, the world's oldest spiritualist newspaper. It was founded in 1932 by Maurice Barbanel and backed by spiritualist scholar Arthur Findlay, who also left his stately pile in Essex, Stansted Hall, to the Spiritualist National Union to be a college for the furtherance of spiritualism and psychic science. And he was also hoping for a bit of general knowledge to be thrown in there too, but that never happened. But yeah, I was ordained as a spiritualist minister in June of 2003. And I was very happy for that to have happened. Right. So I hope that, Bernadette, I hope that you don't find my answer to you blasphemous in any way. I don't mean to be, but we have to speak the truth because we serve the truth, and that's the only way forward. Too many falsehoods and prevarications go on, and it doesn't help anybody. So I think that we must serve the truth, and the truth is that, I think that there are many facets of spirit and many facets of the Great Spirit, and we have to try and expand our own knowledge and our own consciousness to take that on board, and to understand also that we have, each one of us has this spark within us placed there by the great divinity. And it doesn't mean to say that we are gods or godly. No, this is our motivating spirit. And it links us. It links us to that great spirit, and it links us to those wonderful spirits like Jesus. And I know that he has helped me, Jesus has helped me, and I would never deny that. And of course, people have had to deny that over the centuries, and lots of people have had to deny whatever faith they have, because another group of religionists have decided that theirs is the only way, and to persecute and condemn all others, and that is not what God had in mind at all for the human race. And how the human race has misbehaved itself right from the start is something that we have to all try and remedy as best we can, and be as good as we can. Well, I'm going to try and swivel round to see what the time is now. Again, oh dear, I wish, bodies are such awful things, aren't they? Sometimes. Oh, I say, there we are. Look, you're just about. Yes, I've got to go too. I'm going to stop now, and I hope that you've all enjoyed being with me today, and I hope that God will bless you and your families and your friends, give you comfort and healing and peace in all your days and nights, give you some rest if you need it, find you some money if you need it, help with all your physical needs as well as your spiritual needs. Of course, God takes care of our spiritual needs the minute we just ask. Our physical needs take a bit longer sometimes to sort out, but he will see us through, and everything will be well. Everything will be well for you. And yes, Bernadette, I think, yes, I do. God through Moses said, interestingly, communication through Moses told us to pray when we lie down and when we rise up, because that is the best thing to set ourselves up for the night and the day, to remember to thank God for everything. And we don't have to be specific, and just to be thankful, and to ask for the best for other people as well. And to mention people in our prayers is the best thing, and it does make us feel better too. So I say God bless you, and hope to speak with you again soon. And Joanne, I'll see you soon, I'm sure. There. And what I will show you is that I have here this wonderful cushion. There. Now, I wonder who recognises that, who's watching. Look at that wonderful cushion. That wonderful spiritual cushion I was given for my birthday. Yes, it was worth getting old to get that cushion. Beautiful. Just put that back there myself, because I like to sit with that when I'm plinking on the piano. So there we are. I'll say God bless you, and I hope that you have a good rest of the day and night, And I would still, yes, they're reminding me, I would still like to hear from the person whose mother came through there, and also the dogs, don't forget, that came through. God bless you, and bye for now. God bless.